you have to have a lot of responsibility when you're the oldest kid in the family?
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
Because I have a little sister and brother, and I have to help them both. And one time I was in the car with my brother. I was sitting in the middle, and Camila's crying, and I had to help Damon with something. So I held Camila's bottle, and I was helping my brother at the same time.
Is that crazy or what? That's called multitasking. Have you ever heard that word before?
No, but I know how to do that because I've had a brother for 5 years, and like, I know what he likes and not likes.
Yeah. But so now that you have a brother and a sister, sometimes we ask you to help feed your sister, and you do that. And then sometimes you say, like, you ask us to get you water, and we're like, hey, get your own water. And you're like, okay. So you're kind of learning how to, I don't know, be a bigger kid, right?
Yeah.
I think you are.
It's like when Damon has questions, I usually know the answer.
You do. And you've been very helpful. When I went upstairs today to check on you guys because it was a little quiet, I went upstairs and you were literally helping your brother learn how to read.
I know.
That was amazing. What made you want to help him do that? Did he ask you or did you just say you would help him?
No, so I was like, so we were basically playing, and then we went, and then I asked him, which Bob books have you not read yet? And he tossed me all of them he hasn't read, and I'm like, okay, we'll try to read these. And He actually did really well.
Yeah. Were you getting frustrated because he was like taking a long time to read the words, or like, could you be patient with them or what?
I was a little frustrated, like just tiny bit, like mentally, but like the rest, like outside and inside, I was patient.
I think you did a great job. And you guys read like 3 books together or even more.
We read like 2 or 3.
Yeah, you guys did really great.
Hi, Let's Ride listeners. It's your friend Paul Estrada. If you've gotten any value out of any of the episodes, I'm here to ask you to pause this episode and take a moment to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you're a real go-getter, please take a moment to leave a review of the podcast. I'd be indebted to you forever. Thank you for supporting and listening to the show and for going on this journey with us. Pause, subscribe, and let's ride. Our guest today is one of those few times that you meet someone who seems to have life completely figured out. Someone who's built a successful business, faced down the toughest setbacks, and somehow still manages to laugh through it all. Our guest has lived the highs and lows of entrepreneurship, from selling his house to starting a business, struggling to gain a foothold, to thriving, to near collapse and back again. But when most would have folded, our guest doubled down. His faith, grit, and sense of humor pulled him through. He's the kind of guy who can question if he made the right choice leaving his 6-figure job in the morning to closing a $190,000 deal in the afternoon. He believes in creating things that last, products, relationships, memories, and he's proof that success isn't about money or titles, it's about freedom. We talk about everything from discovering your natural talents, building trust in sales, the emotional toll of risk-taking, and what it really means to live with contentment. Our guest today is Marty Estrada. So if there's been one thing that's been interesting to me about you just being my uncle, I feel like you're you're very unique in so many ways. But one of the ones that always has stood out to me is how you're, I know the way I start that question, huh?
Here it comes.
It's just, but no, I think, well, actually this conversation is perfect, right? Which is you're a very successful business person, but you're also somebody that can balance just having a good time and relaxing, not letting the stresses of owning a business or just life in general get to you. That's probably like the one thing I've noticed most. And like right now you're already cracking up about something, right? So I think that's my point, right? But like, where do you think that's something that I feel like I've struggled. I take things very seriously. My grandma always used to say like, Paul, like calm down. You're going to have an aneurysm if you don't relax.
Yeah,
and
you got to.
So I feel like I'm very different than you in that way. And so I've always admired that quality about you. I'm just curious, where do you feel like that comes from? Is that like a really deliberate effort on your part in the way you try to live your life?
No, I mean, well, if I'm be honest, it's faith. I mean, knowing that you're not in control of everything, you're not, I mean, and experience. I mean, I've gone through, the business has really put me through a lot. It really hasn't. But if it was for my faith, I mean, I've I would have lost it. I really would have. I mean, it's been that tough. You know, I don't cry too much about it. I don't like to complain, but, and experiences, you know, you go through experience and it toughens you up just to take things, you know. I'm at a point in my life where I just don't take anything for granted anymore. I just don't, you know, I'm just, hey, I got air in my lungs. I'm happy about that. You know, I'm a very blessed person. When COVID happened, that was a big, oh my God, wake up call. I mean, I was at the top. We were probably doing, and it's, you know, we're a small business. We're not a big company. But at the time, you were doing about 6 million in sales, which is, in my industry, that's really good. You're a player in that industry. And I was at a point in my life where I was like, oh man, I got it made. I could just coast and, you know, I got it made, man. You know, whenever I want to tap out and sell, I could. Oh, and then COVID came. Oh, talk about your life getting turned around, thinking you got it made to, oh my God, are we going to make it through this? Are we going to survive? I mean, that was just, and that was probably the biggest challenge of going through. I mean, there were other ones, you know, lawsuits, but compared to that was really, and that just really nailed into my mind. All this stuff is temporary, man. It could be gone like that. So don't take it to heart. Don't let it consume you. You know, just enjoy every day. And your Auntie Liz, she is the best. And she teaches me a lot. Yeah. You know,
she's always had that personality.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, that's
just like, don't worry about the future. She really lives that. I wish I could.
And I mean, you guys have been married for how long? How
many
years?
36 years.
Yeah. So you've been married so did you adopt her way of living, like off the bat? Has it taken you time to adopt that? Or
mostly through life, you know, because, well, it is different too. You know, you're the financial provider for your family, so you got a lot of responsibilities. So it is different, you know. I mean, she's not going to, and she'll say to me, well, I just don't get, you know, I really don't get what you go through. I go, no, you don't. She goes, you don't say much. No, it's not your problem. It's my problem. You know, I'm glad that you're here to hear, but I don't want, you know, put that on you all the time. But she can see it in me sometimes, you know, you can't hide it. But, the bottom line is my faith. You know, I know that God's in control, and it, you know, people, it's just the thing. No, it's real to me. It's real. I mean, I've gone through things that would blow your mind where I knew He interceded. But, you know, life experiences, that always gives you perspective when you go through financial times too. And you go through trials. That's what builds your character.
And how old were you when you started to come to these realizations and start shifting the way that you live?
To come to that realization was when COVID happened. What was that? 6 years ago? You know, where really.
So this is kind of fairly recent then. Way of thinking.
Yeah, no, you keep learning, man. I mean, people think you get all wise. No, I'm still dumb in a lot of areas. But you know.
Well, and so just for perspective, what was life like before you came to those realizations? So when you and let's do it in the perspective of.
Great. I mean, you know, I went through a hard time, and we had some lawsuits that were ridiculous, but that was nothing compared. And I was able to handle that easy. I mean, it was stressful too, but so, I mean,
let's try to get it in the prospect of just your business career. So I'll just take a step back here for a minute and just think about what I know about you, right? Like, and this is just from your mouth, right? So I'm going to try to remember, but like you've always just said like, hey, I was never really a good student. I know you really pride yourself on your jump shot.
Hey, 4 years at ELAC. Go ELAC.
And your just your athletic abilities, you know, you always like to comment on that. You're just your athleticism. So like, I just know you to be somebody that growing up and through high school and even into college was just somebody that was athletic, maybe not too concerned academically with school and things like that.
Nope.
And so when did you kind of realize like, okay, like this is fun and all, and I'm having a great time, but I got to start figuring out what I'm going to do for work and
when you
career.
hit your 30s, right?
30s. Oh man. That was so, okay. So you were just cruising through the 20s too.
I'm so glad you asked. Yes. My 20s were just fun. I mean, I was having a blast. You know, just enjoying life. I didn't care about being broke. I wasn't going anywhere. Didn't have any. But then I got married, and when I hit 30, I actually got depressed in my 30s when I turned 30. This to me a party. I was like, I don't want to party. I'm depressed because I wasn't going anywhere. Had no vision, nothing. And I knew, I'm married. You know, if I want children in the future, I got to start doing something. And it just hit me. And that's when I started. Usually people they start a lot younger. But that's when I started kind of searching, you know what I'm saying? What
was your 30th birthday was like the catalyst for that? Or was it like
for sure.
a build up to that?
30 was the big, I mean, I was wondering, you know, what do I want to do? Cause I was bouncing from job to dude. You could ask Anthony how many jobs. But, yeah, that was it. 30 when I said, okay, I got to get it together. I can't keep goofing around anymore. And that's when my search started.
I feel like a lot of people, like, so you're not alone in that, right? A lot of people make it to 30 and just are maybe feeling a little bit lost. And almost I notice in some people that it just becomes overwhelming. Like the thought of just like, I'm falling behind in life. My peers are doing this. They're starting families. They're blah, blah, blah. That they could almost like the weight and the pressure of that is so much so that it almost leads to no action at all. Like I feel so overwhelmed by this that I can't even move forward. So
really,
how do you even get started? So so you come to this realization, you're like, okay, I got to start doing something here. But what's step one? Like, how do you like, okay, how am I even going to get started in this?
Well, I just started. I didn't know my abilities. I didn't really have a good grasp as far as, work. I knew I was a good athlete and all that, but I blew that too. I totally wasted that opportunity. But, as far as work, I tried to be a draftsman, an art. But, when you get fired 3 times, okay, maybe I'm not a good draftsman. I was like, okay. I need to do something else. Like there's something else. And so I try to find out. Now, as you know, your grandpa was a salesman, okay? And a really good one. I've heard him sell, but, there are other things that it takes to be successful. And so I remember getting a part-time job in mortgage industry. And man, I took off. I go, oh, you know what? I'm a salesman. That's when I found out where I was going to excel.
What made you realize that though?
Because I was selling left and right. I could talk to people.
Oh, really?
I had the personality. Okay. I could talk over the phone and, I could build people's trust over the phone. I have that ability to do it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, here's where I go. Sales. I need to be in sales. And I once I figured that out, then I started really growing, into personal.
What made you realize that? Like you talked about building trust, about building relationships, but like what
were there? Success I had, I would close deals and, I'd get deals left and right.
Okay. So it was more financial. You were starting to make money.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it. I felt that was my natural, my natural talent, my natural God-given ability was I excelled in sales and talking to people and, being persistent and all that stuff, all the qualities that make a good salesman.
Okay. So that's an important thing, right? It's just like your perception, you're being self-aware and you're saying you came to this realization like, okay, I found a skill. Now I need to double down or triple down or quadruple down on this. So now that you've got this skill in hand and you're like, okay, I could do something with this, then how do you start kind of navigating where you go next?
What I started was I started getting sales jobs and it was a kind of rough ride because finding the right niche for me, like I was selling it's funny talking about how you trade in the market. I was doing currencies, foreign currencies. Mm-hmm. Talk about, it was great training though, man. I'm telling you, because you had to close dudes who you never met in your life and open up for $7,000. They don't even know you. And I did it. I would get, I'd get guys, I'd close them for $7,000, but I knew it wasn't for me because the owner, they're going to make a lot of money. So I believed them. Okay, now my clients are going to make money and I'm going to be able to build it off. So all I got to do is build the client book. No, they kept losing. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get people. I don't care how much money they have. I don't want to be a vessel where they lose money. Forget it. So I said, I got to get out of there. It wasn't for me, And
I think for a lot of people, the idea of selling scares us. And actually, Christina told me recently, she's like, I think you could be a salesman. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. But yeah, I know you to be a really good salesman. And so what do you think, just like specific details, like what goes into building trust with somebody and eventually landing a sale? Like what are
first of all, I think a lot of it it's got to be natural. I really believe it's something that not everybody's built to be. In fact, very few are. Okay, you just got to have a build. I think you might have it, but you have it. You're doing this show. Okay, what does that tell you? You've got a great personality and you're a fun guy. And trust me, people think it's about pounding. No, man, that's not what sales is about. It's about. Let me tell you, when I go into a meeting, you think I pull up the products right away? Heck no. I don't do that. I just try to talk and get to know the person. And me, I crack me. I'm a funny guy. I like to joke around a lot, and it usually goes pretty well. I've had cases where they didn't. But building rapport and talking about things, and that kind of like the product is kind of like the afterthought. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's other qualities too. You got to be highly motivated. I mean, sales.
But before we move on, because I want to really hammer on this because this is really fascinating to me. So what's interesting about what I do, I'm on the other, so I'm the guy on the other side of the table. So you're the sales guy. I'm the procurement. I'm the one buying things, right? That's been my experience, my professional experience. And it has like a different level of, I feel like there's less stress around it, right? I'm the decision maker. What I say goes. Yeah. So when I want to spend money, right? So it's just, I could see though, having sat in front of literally hundreds of sales pitches, sometimes you could see the nervousness, the sweat on people. Like I've just come to really appreciate what they go through, but also get to see the intricacies of what works and what doesn't. And so you hit something on your very first point that I think is really important. And that is like this trust factor. And I'm going to use the word authenticity. I think there's people that can come into a room, they can be a good talker, but one of the things as a buyer that I've learned over these years is like, I'm sensing, are you just somebody that is trying to nail a bullet point and you're trying to sell something? What you're selling, do you believe in it? Whether it's a service or a product, like, do you actually believe in it, or are you trying to make trying to make a commission sale? Yeah. Right. Like, I feel like I can kind of come to that realization. So yeah, if you could just speak a little bit more to just the rapport building, like how do you come across as authentic? Is that a learned trait?
Number one, that's like, I just told you that my experience selling the Ford, I didn't believe in the product and I couldn't sell it. So number one, you got to believe in it. Okay. And number two, you got to have confidence. If you're not confident, people are going to sense it. They're going to sense it. Not stupid. I'm sure you can sense it, and you got to believe in the product. And, but like I said, always rapport building. You got to be able to have the instincts. Well, what kind of person you're dealing with? Because sometimes, I've been in a meeting. I remember going to a Walmart meeting. Oh my God. Okay. Let me tell you, some of these buyers, they got egos the size of.
Oh, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm aware.
Look at your ego. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I remember going into, and this lady was a no nonsense. And she literally goes, we get in the meeting, we sit down. She literally goes, okay, don't give me anything I don't want to see. Here's what I want. If I don't want to hear, if you don't give this to me, meeting's over. Like that. Okay.
Right.
Well, she knows she's in charge of millions of dollars of purchasing power. And so obviously that wasn't the person I was going, hey, how you doing? Second joke. No.
Yeah.
It's just common sense. You just got to read the room, read the person, and you got to read. That's the first thing is you read the person, see what kind of personality you're dealing with, and some guys will joke, and some guys, that's all they want to do is joke, and they don't want to get out of business.
Right.
Well, they're kind of my favorite guys, but anyway, so it's just a matter of, knowing, having the confidence, and you got to believe in your product. I would never sell anything I don't believe in. Forget it. I want to do it. And then, having the confidence and building a rapport and reading your customer, and also being a great listener. Guys think, just be pushy as heck, pound them. No, listen, ask questions. Okay. How can I help you? Because what you want to do is you don't want to put yourself in a position. You want to put yourself in a position where it's a win-win situation for both people. Okay. Right. And you need to make the buyer feel, hey, yeah, you help us, but we're also going to help you. How? Well, we got better product and they're competitor. What? You need better terms, payment terms. Okay. I can help you on that. Now, what are we going to get for that? See, too many salesmen make the mistake of giving away the house. No. Yeah. Make it a win-win situation. Okay. We'll give you this. Here's what I need. You get it?
Let's talk about that. So you mentioned another important part, and that's, I'm going to say, active listening. It's interesting that you say that, because I feel like some people come in and they've got they got this very polished presentation, right? They got a PowerPoint, they put it up on the screen, and they kind of just start talking through their bullet points. And literally I could go 10 or 15 minutes of them just talking. I'm like, dude, come up for air, take a breath or something,
Right.
But I noticed that. And the thing is, they're not asking like, how do I mold this presentation? I know I have a standard format, but how do I mold this to fit this specific person that I'm sitting in front of, so that I can demonstrate that I understand their pain points and how I can solve those specifically, and not put you into this cookie cutter mold of this is what
you nailed it on the head. And that comes out to asking questions and listening. That's probably more of creating the sale than it is pounding the guy and doing the whole presentation. Listen to what they need, because how are you going to address their needs? How are you going to sell them if you can't fit a need or make their life better or easier? You've got to have something, So, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's, got to.
Yeah. As far as, just more on the career side of things, I think what I know about, they're typically some of the highest paid, if not the highest paid people at organizations. I know you're an entrepreneur, but even if you're not, if you work for a corporation, they're the highest paid people for a reason. It's not an easy thing to do, right? And I totally understand that part. I will say though, like, you're kind of at an advantage if you're a salesperson, because I don't know what the percentages are as far as what percentage of people could actually be good at sales. I think the number's actually probably not that big. I'm going to say, if I had to guess, maybe 10%, maybe less of working people actually have the skills and personalities to do something like that. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what it feels like to me. But you've always just kind of had this knack for making money too. And I don't know if that's just because, hey, when you're in sales, it's almost like if you're really good at sales, it's almost like a foregone conclusion. You're going to make a pretty good amount of money. Or no, now there's this other quality of mine where it's just like, hey, I've got a knack for knowing where the opportunity is and going and get it.
Yeah, well, sales, I like to tell people, sales is the best paying, hardest working profession there. It's the easiest non-paying job you can have. It depends your abilities. It depends what you put in. That's what I love about sales. It depends, and that's one of the things I love to do. Even though I own a business, I still love to get out there and present. What I always liked about sales is you get out what you put into it. That's what I've always loved about it. As opposed to just getting a salary job. You're sitting down and, and collecting your hourly pay and, that didn't really appeal to me. So I wanted something where I could build on and grow and, see what that could lead to.
And so you realize that you've got this knack for sales, and then eventually you venture off into the world of entrepreneurship, which is a whole nother can of worms, right? So I know part of that, I think, relied on you maybe having a partner that kind of helped with some funding. So if you could just kind of talk through like the infancy stages.
Okay, man. It was tough. Starting a business, I started without a partner first. I liquidated, I sold my house, liquidated my stocks. I mean, pretty crazy what I did when I go back and think about it. But
okay, before you move on, hold on. You can't drop a bomb like that and then just keep moving on. So,
yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
No. So what comes in your head, like where you wake up one day and say,
okay, well,
I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to
really,
liquidate everything.
It's too long, but I'll give you the highlight points. But I was working for the biggest first aid manufacturer, well, one of the biggest in Walnut. And I've been successful. I was the main guy going to Walmart, Costco, stuff, presenting all those guys. And, I was making a great living. And, but I knew, man, I could do better because I was creating products for this guy, which is a ability I didn't know I had. I started creating products. I had a good eye for it, and I started building his business. That wasn't my job. My job was just to sell. What am I doing? And I started thinking, I can do this. Why am I looking for this guy? Give him my idea,
All right.
And there just became and I just started feeling after a couple more years where I started feeling, am I doing what I'm capable of doing by being, thinking I was doing, which I was doing great there, but is that the best I could do? I go, no, I had that feeling. I go, I could do better. I could do what this guy's doing. And, why am I building it for this guy, And I pretty much took the lead. I got to a big fight with the owner. All right.
Okay. Do you remember what it was about?
I quit that job just right there, making and back then 6 figures was pretty good. These days. Yeah. But I had a cushy job and I come home and let me tell you something. All you entrepreneurs listening, your partner who you marry is going to be so important because most women, I came home, I told Liz, honey, I quit my job. Most of them would freak out and say, no, you go back and you get your job out. You're just not Liz. Auntie Liz, she says, oh, honey, you've been wanting that because she gave me a big hit. Go for it now. Now you can do it. I'm like, okay. So I did. That's what happened. I ended up selling my house. And this is right before the market. I just bought this big home over in Corona and been in about a year and a half. And then this was about right before the market crashed in 2008. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep. I remember that. Yeah.
It was weird. I told Liz, man, and our home was going up in value like insane. 10,000 a month. I go, this isn't, something's wrong. This isn't right. And I just started, I go, Liz, honey, we better sell this house. I'm sensing, I didn't know what Wall Street it was. I didn't know what was going on, what he was going to buy. I go, I think we better sell this house and cash out. And because when I quit my job, I didn't have that much. I had like 45 grand say, which in my industry, that's nothing. Okay.
Right.
I go, we're going to need some money to build this, to keep this business going. So we did, we sold it. And, and not a couple months later, the market started crashing.
Yeah.
And I sold my stock. I sold my 401k, liquidated everything. And so, thank God I did that because if I didn't, oh my God, who knows? But,
so you did that and now you're sitting on a pile of cash. Did you give yourself a runway of just, hey, I've got to make this work?
Oh, yeah.
In 3 months, like what was that like?
Liz goes, well, what are you going to do? What's your plan B? Do you have plan B if this doesn't work? I said, no, no plan B. This has to work. My mentality isn't to have a backup plan. My mentality is I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this work. And you have to do that. When you're starting a little business, you're wearing all the hats. You're doing everything. Okay. Yeah, right. I didn't have any money to pay employees or nothing like that. You just can't have that mentality. And I tell people, be careful what you wish for. You really want this. You better want it bad. you better be relentless and you better be determined. And you also don't be a wishful thinker. Do you have what it takes to do it? Not most people don't. They make the mistake thinking they could, but they don't. And that was it. So that's how it all started.
What were some moments or maybe a moment? I know you're a very confident person, like you go into it with a ton of confidence, but just describe maybe one or two moments where you maybe questioned that, where you're like,
oh boy,
yeah.
Here's a good story. Okay. I was probably, in the meantime, I had taken on a partner about a year after that. And about 2 years into it, it just wasn't going good. I'll never forget the day, and I hope I don't get choked up here, where it wasn't going good. And I just started questioning myself. I said, you idiot. Telling myself, who do you think you are? You had it made. Why did you think you could do this? Because things weren't going good. We weren't. And I remember sitting in my office. I was down. I was pretty despondent at that point because things were happening. And I was like, literally had my head down on the desk like that. And I'm just like, God, if I made the wrong move, give me a sign. But if you want me to keep doing this, I need to see something. I'm not kidding you, Paul. This is a true story. Right when I said it, my fax goes off, starts ringing. I'm like, oh, what is it? What kind of bad news is this going to be now, right? I get a purchase order from a company called Menards. I don't know if you heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
I get a $190,000 purchase order. And I'm telling you, that, God, talking about a weight off my shoulders and all the doubt that I had and I was starting thinking, where am I going to get a job? Really, it was that bad.
Yeah.
And that just, boom, it just ignited me against what I needed at that moment. And I called my brother, man, nigga, we got a $190,000 purchase order from Menards, and so it was awesome. Talking about, I'll never forget that day because that was the turning point to go on.
I'm sure doubt crept in again later, but was it ever to that degree again? Or was like, no, okay, I've got this.
No, not at all. That was it. After that, I was on. I was okay. I'm in this, dude. I was ready, but man, it was tough at the time, and I needed that. No, after that, it was no doubt myself. There were outside influences doubting where we were doing business, things like that, but
right.
No, that was it. And I knew, okay, this is it. I'm in this for forever. So
you get this purchase order, things start going well. And now talk to me about like the very peak, like where you just have, you were mentioning a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Right before COVID, man, we were sitting at about 6 million in sales and continually growing. And we had built Rapport, in the first aid industry. It's a known name. It's a pretty known name. Everready, not so much, but yeah, we started building a name and people started coming. We had Costco we had Home Depot, people started listening. We started nailing those kind of accounts. It was going great. Then COVID came and man, just beat it. Our main factory that we buy from was in Wuhan, where it all started.
Oh, jeez.
So you could have been in the worst place. And I would talk to my supplier. They locked them down in their apartments for like 3 months.
Right.
We couldn't get product for probably 3 months. And it just did big damage to the business. And I thought we weren't going to make it for a while. I'm like, oh, well, so, but yeah, that was it.
There was one more thing I wanted to go back and touch on. You were talking about, so we talked a lot about sales. What you were starting to mention, I want to just talk about a little bit more. That's product development. And I want to talk about it in the sense that I think a lot of entrepreneurs today, when they think about things, I want to say most of them think about creating a service-based business. Mm-hmm. And service-based businesses are great. They're typically constricted by time, right? Like it requires an amount of time and that your time is finite. Yes, you can hire people, but their time is finite. And one thing I've always been intrigued about with a product-based business is you can scale much, much larger when you get your manufacturing down and all that sort of thing. But it seems like that's a even harder business to create. And you and I have had this conversation before where you're like, hey, Paul, just go create, some product. And I'm like, well, look, I feel like I'm not a consumer. I've owned this t-shirt that I've been wearing for 4 years. I don't go through Costco. I don't go through Macy's. I'm not like in tune with what's going on in terms of products. And you make it sound so easy. You're just like, well, I just go on Amazon and I look at first aid kits and I read the comments. And so I don't know if you could just talk a little bit to those that are contemplating doing something like this. I feel like a lot of people don't do product businesses for this reason.
Well, yeah. It's funny because guys approach me for, they want me to invest in their business. And I always take a look at it because if I see something great, I'd say that's probably the most important thing when you start, your product has to be good. Don't just think, well, make it good. If you can't do it, because if you have a great product, people are going to want it. Okay. Because like on Amazon, there's the competition's intense. I mean, you go and you'll see. I don't know how many kits are on there, but it's intense. And how are you able to build this? Well, you do have to have a good eye for product. You have to have good instinct. I get involved in the graphics. I get involved in the design of the product. Not get involved. I create. I'm the guy who does it. And, and I love doing it. That's the thing is I love to create, but you also you gotta do your market research and you gotta know who your market is. Okay. The thing about the business I'm in, there's a lot of other people doing stuff. And, you get copied. I've been copied probably on 3 products already. They've been really good and people copy. So you always open. Now, if you got a patent, oh my God, I'm working on 2 designs I'm going to try to patent. And that's just going to set, if I'm able to get it, it's going to set it to another stratosphere. And that's the biggest thing is you got to come up with a good product.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So for those that can't, like me, right? I just feel like I've got writer's block. I just can't, right? What advice do you have for people that like really want to do something like that, but are like me, right? They're just like, I don't know how to, like, where can people get inspiration for things? Like, how can they go about just maybe training their brain to be on the lookout, like throughout their lives?
Yeah. I would say, what do you love to do? What things do you like that, appeal to you? I would start with that. And take a look at what's out there. Now, if you can make it better, I always say, if it's not patented, you can just finding ways to package things different, make it better. The graphics, I mean, let me tell you, man, one thing I learned when I used to sell 99 before they went out of business, 99 only, I used to work with this buyer, and she was super sharp, the best buyer, sharp. Her name was Susan Ford, real nice lady. Well, she was tough too. So she would tell me, she would explain to me, like, well, this is how, this can work better. If you make these changes on the packaging, it'll make a huge difference. And she was right. I would do certain things I learned through experience too, not just I'm such a brilliant guy. That's not it.
Right.
Either, but listening to other people, giving me tips and listening to the recommendations. Yeah. I mean, definitely. And I remember, man, here's a great little example. I was selling two elastic bandages in a box. Okay. Uh-huh. And she told me, yeah, your competitor's only selling one, but they're still outselling it. I go, how can that be? I'm like, so I was like, I got to find out why that is. So I went into a store and I just sat there looking, and this guy comes up looking at, again, this is no accident, man. This is from up close. And he bought my bandages, my product was next to this other one that had one. And I asked him, I went, sir, why did you choose that instead? This has 2. Why did you choose that one? Are you an idiot or what?
Yeah.
He goes, I just saw that the one I bought, it was just packaged with the bandage showing in a cellophane wrap where you could just see what it was. And in my box, you couldn't really tell. And I was like, oh, that's why,
Yeah.
So I changed the packaging to show where you could see the 2 bandages, and man, it took off. Boom! I killed everybody. So that wasn't me. It's me going out and doing the work to, where it bothers you or why I'm not doing that. And I found out, so they're there. You just got to go search and look for the reasons.
So there was, I had a marketing professor marketing class, and it's something that's always stuck with me even all these years later was that if you're going to build a service or a product, you either have to be the first one to do it, you have to be the best one to do it, or it has to be different enough for people to want it.
Well, your professor is very right.
Yeah. So when you think about that, which one, it sounds like you kind of maybe lean on best or different. What would you say?
Both. I try to be better in packaging. I try to be better in product. Well, definitely number one is a product because, one thing I love about Amazon is that you get people's feedback. They'll tell you what they like about the product and your sales. If it's a good product, they're going to keep going up and up and up. And if they're bad and if your reviews are bad, but you get feedback on what people like and so on and kind of helps you develop, it's also a process to keep making it better in a lot of cases,
Right.
So when I see feedback, okay, I can do that. Let's make it better. So it's not all I'm so brilliant. No, I do the work and I look and I spend the time knowing my customer.
That's it. That's the key. Do the work.
Don't get lazy because when you start getting lazy, that's your down. So
you mentioned it earlier and I want to now go touch on that. And that was, you talked about the coronavirus. You talked about the factory where you were sourcing products being in Wuhan. So you source your product from China, and obviously everybody knows what's been happening with regards to tariffs lately. And I know you've had a lot. It's impacted your business in some big ways. And so we don't, want to get like, political, but I do want people to understand. I think we all read the headlines. We kind of get a sense of what's happening and different people spin it different ways. But as a business owner who's being really impacted by this, like how can you help just us that aren't that close to it understand what's really happening?
I'm amazed at how people still don't realize how this works. I'll explain how to. Okay, let's say what happens is, no matter what news made of China isn't paying for it. Okay. Neither is all these companies. Tariffs, how it works. Here's how exactly you're bringing a product. Let's say you bring a container for $100,000. Okay. Well, right now the tariffs are 30%. So now that $100,000 is now cost you $130,000. So you're paying another $30,000 on top of that, the product. Okay, so it adds to the cost of the product. Now,
sorry, I want to move slowly because I want to make sure I understand this. So your supplier sends you an invoice for $100,000, which is what you had agreed upon, right?
Right.
Who then tax on this $30,000 additional?
Department of Homeland Security. Our
so
government.
Your paperwork for that purchase somehow funnels through the government. They go, oh, I got a $100,000 container here. They have some automated system that tax on 30 grand, right? And then that's the paper you get.
And you got to pay it right away. People don't understand the burden this puts on small or even big business. But, for the first time in my business, I lost money last month, because I paid a lot of money in tariffs. Now, what's going to happen? I'm telling people, a lot of companies, and I was eating the tariffs for a while because we didn't know, it's going to be 30%, it's going to be 50%. There's a lot of instability, which business hates instability. You want to know because you don't know how to price your customers. But now I'm just figuring it's going to be 30%. Now I'm waiting for the Supreme Court decision to see what happens. But, so now I'm starting to raise prices because I can't eat all that. It's just too much. And it's cash just out of your account, just like that, man. It's no grace period, no pay in 90 days, pay it right now. And so what's going to happen, people haven't seen it yet, but companies are not going to keep eating it forever. They're going to start increasing the prices. And I've been talking to other business friends of mine. They're saying, yeah, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. But yeah, we're going to start raising the price. So it hasn't hit yet. It really hasn't. It's going to take I'm thinking about 6 months to really feel the effect when they start running out of their old inventory. And if you didn't have good margins and if you didn't have good cash flow, you're done. Seriously. I mean, if you were not, thankfully, we did. So
let's touch on the cash flow piece for those that aren't super involved. So you just said, right, the container comes in, you have to write that check literally right then and there in order for you to take receipt of that product.
Yep.
Meanwhile, you then have to take your product from the, ocean container. You've got to transport it into your warehousing. You got to put it into inventory. You have to maybe rework it and package it. You have to ship it out to your customers. They have to put it on the shelf. It has to sit there before it gets purchased. And then you have payment terms with your customers, which could be 30, 60, 90, 120 days, whatever it may be. And so basically what that means is you have to cut the check today. You may not see that money come back around for 3, 4, 5 months.
Yep. You nailed it right on the head, man. You don't sit.
So for those that are, like you said, so when we talk about cash flow, that's what we're saying. And for those that aren't sitting on cash like that, right then and there, it's like, okay, well, I just cut this and how am I going to float $30,000 that I'm not going to see, right? Can I go get a loan for this? Like, do I go into debt? Like, how do I do this? And I think that's maybe right what a lot of businesses are facing.
It's a tough thing. I mean, for small, big businesses, they can absorb it more. Obviously that there's kind of more cash, but for smaller businesses, it's tough. The news, they're not reporting it. It's damaging a lot of small business. I've seen guys on video, man, I'm not going to make it because I feel for them because it sucks. But I understand why it's being done. But it's tough, and thankfully I was smart enough to, there's a book and there's a scripture in Proverbs that says, hey, when the going's good, don't spend that money, put it aside for when it goes
a rainy
bad.
Day or something. Yeah.
Thank God I did that. I put it aside. Oh, no, and it's so funny because last year we had a great year. We were killing it, right?
Yeah.
And it was fun. I was like, okay, this is too good to be true. What's going to happen next? So what happens? And so, I think I was smart enough not to go spend it all and all.
But I just want to, I want to call this out because it's super important to me. Is if I were in your position, I'd have, I'm already getting grades. I'd have way more. You're talking about it and you're laughing about it, right? And it's like, I know it matters to you, but at the same time, you're just like, what can I do? Right?
Like I said, don't take anything. Hey, it can come again. It's not over. He might come and say, oh, now we're going to slap 50%. At that point, I'm probably just going to say, no, I'm just going to screw it, liquidate it, go move to a cheap place to live. you know? No, but yeah, I just don't take it for granted. I'm just like, okay, what next? It's like if you build your resistance to these things after you've gone through them a while, and I'm just at the point where, you know, I mean, I'm going to do the best I can, of course. And I love what I do. That's the thing that kills me. I still love what I do. I don't want to retire, you know, you know, because I just love what I'm doing. So, but yeah, you know, I'm at the point where I don't take anything for granted. I really do. I mean, and you can. You're better off living your life if you have that kind of mentality. Obviously, you're going to do the best that you can with whatever you got, but it's always best to have that mentality.
Well, I think, you know, you've built, and it's interesting, right? A lot of people are counting down the days to retirement and you're just like, hey, I don't want to retire. I'm having a good time. And I think that that's something that's admirable for people that maybe don't understand. Like there is a world. And by the way, it could happen at a company. Entrepreneurship is great, but you could also find a company that you really enjoy working for where it's just like, yeah, I really enjoy doing this.
No, sorry. What y'all doing, man?
Yeah.
Because
okay, well, so let's.
I love.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not that you love money. I don't. You know, I hang on to it very loosely. But what it does give you, and it gives you freedom, and that's what I love. The freedom. Okay, if I don't feel like working, I'm going home. Henry, run the place while I'm gone. You know, that's what I love is the freedom you get. You know, not to have working for the man, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, I probably could have still been working for that owner if he just wasn't so controlling and let me do what I was capable of doing and not put a magnifying glass. Dude, I'm like, so now that's what doing me next. You know, so, but,
so just to give people perspective, if
you got a good job like you do, I kind of did it crazy way, quit a job just like that. I mean, don't do that. You know, get your job and then get it going on your side, you know, that kind of thing. But
no, but you're right. Something right of just, like I said, one thing I can let loose to a degree, but not to the degree you can, you and Auntie Liz, right? Which is like, you got your 4-wheelers, you got all your desert toys, you got guns, you go out and shoot. Like you're just a big kid. That's how I look at you.
I love it.
It's something that I admire, right? But you've been able to like you said, you've been able to build a life that allows you to live your life that way. And that's.
Yeah. And, you know, you do it for as you know, you're raising your family and you're taking the lead of providing because you want to, not that you want to, you know, take care of them, but you want to set them up to be successful. The rest is up to them. That's kind of like, and you want to take care of your family. I don't want my life stressing about money or nothing like that, you know, and you just, it comes about, you want to build a better life for your children, your wife and your children, and you want to set them as best as you can in your power, that, you know, and so that's always the big motivator. That's the number one motivator. You know, the freedom, you know, it's always another bonus too. So, I'm very content. I'm very balanced where I'm at right now.
I think that's that word content. You talked about, hey, money's not really the driver.
No, it is.
But that is what you see, you know, online on social media and things like that. It's like, that seems like that's kind of the appeal is the fancy cars, the money, all that stuff.
You know what? Let me tell you one thing about money. Now, I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't give you certain comfort. Of course it does. Anyone that says money doesn't buy happiness is lying, okay? Because I know when I go to a Cardinals game and I got great seats, I'm happy. Now, what it doesn't bring is contentment and satisfaction. That's the big difference. And I tell people, don't chase it. You know, do what you love and let the results come. But I hang on to it loosely because it can be gone, and you don't know. It's not an eternal thing. And I tell people, hey, you ever see a hearse behind you ever see a U-Haul behind a hearse? No, you don't take it with you. So don't make that your being, you know, it's silly. It's really stupid. So
I thought you were my fun uncle. I didn't realize you were my wise uncle too. When did that?
Oh no, I can be an idiot. No, I don't want to let you down. When I have my moments. No, you do have to have certain wisdom to run a business and to lead it. It does take wisdom. I mean, you know, a little smart. Not that it all comes from me. It all comes from there. Yeah, I mean, just the wiser you are, the better your life's going to be. I mean, you know, how many people make stupid decisions that just affect their lives?
All the time.
I know. And believe me, I've done stupid things in my youth. Trust me.
Okay? No way.
Oh, yeah. Me and your brother. No. No, your dad, I mean. No. But, you know, but that's youth. You do stupid things when you're young, you get wiser as you get older. And don't do that again, you know. But unfortunately, I haven't suffered any major consequences. But
well, it's been a really inspirational journey. Just always been very impressed. Just I know I don't tell you this often, but just entrepreneurship has always been an interest. I've taken a different career path that's worked out really well for me.
No, you're doing fantastic.
But always just respected and appreciated the way that you've approached things, and just trying to learn how to let loose a little bit. I'll tell you that. I just turned 40, and I need to learn. I got 3 kids now, and so I need to de-stress my life, not add stress to it.
Okay,
so I'm going to learn a few things.
I will show you how to de-stress.
I know you will. I know you.
I remember when you came up and I brought my gun. You're all freaking out. I go, why not? This is Arizona. People got guns everywhere.
I'm going to come to your relaxation boot camp. That's what you should start next.
I'd be great at that. Yeah, just don't take life so serious. I mean, work hard, make the best of your abilities. You're successful already. So
yeah,
it's only going up for you. Don't stress about the little things, man. It's not worth it. Cause most things you stress about never happen.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, it's like these ideas you create. Yeah, that is true.
And hang around with Auntie Lizzie. She's a better influence in that area than I am.
Yeah, we're going to go hit this. Yeah. So anyways, thank you for sharing your story. It was really inspirational. And I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. I hope I helped somebody out who listens,
You 100% did.
I really appreciate you putting me on.
Of course.
All right.
See ya.
The Rockies ain't too far from here if we drive all night. The cold air will do you well in the mountain morning light. So let's ride on through the rain. Come on and take me anywhere that you wanna be. Let's ride.